Hi, I'm Mama Rebecca Maddox El-Hakam. Welcome. Today we are going to share in detail our fertility journey to conceive our baby Jimmy. Come along with me as we journey to Jimmy. So I don't know why it has taken me so long to record this video. It is something that I have wanted to share, and the reason is because when we experienced the loss of our baby daughter at 18 weeks gestation in August of 2017, I immediately started searching for anyone who had experienced anything similar to what we experienced with her. And that meant I went through all of these groups and found lots of trying to conceive after loss. I found lots of groups about women who had had losses either earlier in the first trimester or in the middle of the second trimester, like we had, and then those who had experienced loss further on in their pregnancies. So what I was trying to do was find something similar. Now I know that everyone's situation is different, every woman's body is different, every baby is different, but we have a common thread, and oftentimes there is a story that connects with your story and that can maybe take you to that next level, or at least give you a little bit of hope. And that is what I needed when I was trying to figure out what happened with our daughter, and then figure out how we could move forward and hopefully be able to conceive again and be able to have a successful, healthy pregnancy that would go full term and we would have a living baby to take home. So what I'm going to say is just what happened to us, and that is so that you can have as many details as possible, and that maybe when people are searching, they'll be able to find the story if it connects with them. So after we lost our daughter, we began to try to figure out what happened with her. Specifically, we found out that she had a fetal maternal hemorrhage, and that meant that she was anemic and had lost too much blood at that 18-week mark. We were told, after meeting with a lot of different doctors and finding a specialist that we would again work with once we were pregnant again, he said that this was something that was not preventable in her case because we were not seeing him or any other specialist that found out, and that it was not anything that I did or anything that necessarily caused it. It's just sometimes a baby will begin to lose blood and they don't know exactly why. And so he said if we were to get pregnant again, or he was hopeful that we would get pregnant again, and that he would care for that baby and the pregnancy, and he would watch for the anemia, and he would do these very detailed ultrasounds every time he saw us, and that he would, if they presented with something similar, there are procedures and things they can do in utero. So that was number one for us, was knowing what happened with her. And I know a lot of families don't know what happens when they experience miscarriage, but we did know I'd also had an antibody in my blood. So I want to share about that. And I can put in the comments exactly which antibody that was. But my titers were extremely low. But there was an antibody, which should have put me into a high-risk doctor and high-risk category. That was something that was just missed by those that were seeing me at the time of my loss. So we would keep an eye on those titers levels all throughout my trying to conceive time, as well as once we conceived and were expecting. So next I want to share what we went through once we experienced our loss. So again, this was a second trimester loss. I continued to wait. I bled quite a bit. I did deliver her vaginally, and I waited, had a lot of bleeding, kind of thought I had a cycle. We really wanted to try to get pregnant right away. And we were told that that was fine for us to do. And I just didn't get pregnant, didn't seem to be ovulating normally or anything. I kept getting positive pregnancy tests for weeks. And that's one of the questions I see a lot on the Trying to Conceive forums is once someone has experienced a loss or recently been pregnant, how long does it take the HCG to get out of their system? I think the answer that I've seen most often is just a couple of weeks. For me, it was a couple of months. And so I don't know if it was just because I was further along or if my body just did not want to acknowledge that the pregnancy had ended. And I'll get into that a little bit more later, but there were some signs that kind of was what I experienced. I did not end up lactating or like having my milk come in or anything like that. Again, I think my body just did not acknowledge the loss, and it took some time. So things like hair loss, I would typically have some of my hair fall out as I got a few months after I was postpartum. That did not happen from the date that I actually lost our daughter, but it did happen from around the time that she should have been born. So like December or January. So then you fast forward several months. That's when my hair started to come out. So that kind of struck me as odd when that happened. Also, I have never gotten pregnant right after delivery with any of my other babies. I mean, we definitely weren't trying to get pregnant, but we also weren't not trying. And we ended up pregnant with each of the 4 older ones within about a year, like around a year. And with my cycles, which with each of them came back around 9 months. So that kind of all lined up with what happened with her as far as if I'm just looking at the date of when she should have been born, if she was born full term. Then you go 9 months from there. Well, then you get to about the time that we actually ended up successfully conceiving Jimmy. So the body's a pretty powerful thing. The mind is also a powerful thing. And some of these things are learned. And I think in my body in particular, my body had done things a certain way every single time before. And so it basically continued to do that with this, in spite of the fact that the timing, I really wanted the timing to be faster. It just wasn't. And so we're thankful for how it worked out, but it just was hard going through it. So once I continued to get positive pregnancy tests, my physicians at the time suggested I do a cycle of, I think it was birth control pills. I'll have to look that up, but I think I did like doubled up. I did like a certain number, and then kind of I think they got I think I increased them like for 5 days. So like you take 1 and 1 and 1, and then you take 2, and then you take 3, whatever it was, or maybe it was reverse that. That I will try to look it up and see, and then correct myself in the comments. So I have been trying to do this video for a while, and now it's getting later, and so my phone keeps deciding that it's full of storage because my sweet sister-in-law sent me a bunch of old, really precious videos of our kids like doing dances and like VBS songs together. And so it completely filled up my phone. So I'm just trying to figure out like where can I put those? Because I don't have space to download them really, but yet they're on my phone. So like, but it won't let me download them so that then I can email them to myself or something and put them somewhere else. Anyway, so I'm trying to do this video and my phone keeps like saying, oops, sorry, you're out of storage. And then I have to like start again. So that is why I'm feeling like I'm fighting off the yawning right now because I'm just pretty tired. But I do want to get this done for y'all because I think it's important. So anyway, we did a cycle to sort of just make my actual period come. And so we did that. And I had horrible, like, you know, again, felt like I was having a miscarriage. It was just awful. It was our son's birthday, and I guess it was his 11th birthday. And we had some of his friends in his grade, some of his buddies come, and we went to a place where they could play video games. And I was like, I just thought I was bleeding so much that like I was having to go to this like public restroom at this party place, like every 5 to 10 minutes. And again, everything would sort of soak through and I'd have to replace and go again and again and again. And, you know, I wouldn't have been out. I would have just been in bed if it was just a normal day. It was my son's birthday. And so I just prayed that this was just everything working its way out of my body and that I was okay. Like I was so worried that there was maybe something left from my miscarriage and that was causing me problems. So I went ahead and got through that cycle. I survived. And we started seeing a lot of fertility specialists because at this point it had been a certain number of months, and I went ahead and also met with a new doctor, just a regular doctor. So I had the specialist, high-risk doctor that I had met with, who basically knew all about babies who have experienced this fetal maternal hemorrhage that she had, which we really had confirmed and diagnosed by doing something called a KB test. So I'll just share that for anyone that is, if you ever hear of someone who has experienced a later in pregnancy loss, they can have this test done. It's actually just a blood test of the mom. So nothing, like you don't have to do anything with the baby. Like if they decide they don't want to do an autopsy or anything like that, they don't have to. This is just a blood test with mom, but a lot of times doctors will not order it, either because they just don't know or because I think they're just so used to just saying like, we don't know why this happened, so that's that. So many miscarriages, you just don't know why. But like honestly, that's just not acceptable. There are tests you can do, and I've read that this actually is a cause for a lot of the unknown caused miscarriages. So I don't know if there's truth in that or not, because it'd be hard to say since they don't know. That maybe they just think it's more common than we know about. But it's a simple blood test, and it just determines whether or not the mom has a substantial amount of the baby's blood in her system. And if she does, she shouldn't, and so that indicates that there's been blood loss, and that's what we had. So, all right, so we have a specialist we've met with. We then have fertility doctors that we go and meet with. We find out that my husband's or our insurance does not cover infertility, like definitely not like IVF, not IUI. They don't cover like the shots that you need to get if you're trying to help with ovulation or trigger ovulation, or any of that. So, but we do end up finding a fertility specialist that we really like. We have a bunch of tests done. We run tests on both of us, like blood work on both of us. I'd already had things done through the different pregnancies, so kind of knew that I was really only a carrier of one genetic disorder or issue, and basically, if Mustafa, my husband, wasn't a carrier, then there's no risk at all for our children. And we figured that likely he wasn't, because we had 4 children that didn't have this. So anyway, basically all of our tests came out completely clear. Okay, hold up. I had a little bit of an issue recording this vlog because I basically ran out of space where I was recording, and being a mother of 5, I had to take a little bit of a break before I could come back to this story. So here the story is continued. So we have all the tests done. We are in the clear as far as having any genetic issues together, anything that we should worry about. They tell us there's absolutely nothing that we did wrong or anything that caused what happened to Mary Linda, and that doesn't happen to the same mother twice. So we have these assurances, we have a plan moving forward, but we're just not getting pregnant and really don't know why. So the fertility specialist at this point suggests that we do some intervention. Maybe we do an unmedicated cycle of just timed intercourse plus do an IUI. So we opt to do that. It does not work. Then we go to the next month, and I believe that first month I didn't do a shot, like an HCG shot, which tells your body to go ahead and ovulate. I did not do that. Then the next month we did IUI again. This time I did the HCG shot, which is the pregnancy hormone, and we went ahead and took 5 days of 25 milligrams of Clomid. Now, you'll often hear that Clomid and some of the other fertility drugs are going to increase your chances of getting pregnant, ovulating, but also you could have multiple, there could be multiples there. So what you do is you have a monitored cycle, meaning that you take the Clomid. For me, that's a very low dose, and there's just some studies and experiences that show that women who are just having some difficulty getting pregnant and don't show any other fertility issues, that just taking that low dose of Clomid can help them go ahead and ovulate enough. Or, I don't really know the medical reason, but it does help some women get pregnant. So we did a cycle with Clomid, and then you go into the doctor's office after, I forget how many days exactly, but after you have taken a cycle of Clomid, so for 5 days, and they choose which days depending on, I guess, when you typically ovulate. And so for me, it was days 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I took Clomid at night because it did make me sick at my stomach, but it's easier for me to sort of sleep through that and then not feel as great later in the day, but it's still not terrible as if I was taking it in the morning. Then I would kind of go through that whole morning and day feeling sick. So I took it on those days. Then I went in to be checked. They did an ultrasound, and they were able to see that there were some maturing follicles and that everything looked good for one egg. And so we went ahead and did an IUI that month. So that was our second IUI. And what happened that month is that I did get a positive pregnancy test late. So this was late in August. It had been exactly a year since I lost Mary Linda. I went through a really difficult time through a work situation. All of that happening at the same time. I ended up, I guess, having what some people call a chemical pregnancy, because I definitely had positive pregnancy tests. They were getting darker, and then they were no more, and I bled very heavily. And my husband and I were actually already on a planned trip, so I have all this like personal stuff going on, issues with my job, and then I end up having a miscarriage, chemical pregnancy, and we're on a trip with friends. And I don't want to tell them, one, what's going on with my work, two, what's going on with us. I mean, they know that we're trying to have another baby, because obviously everyone's aware of our loss and that we wanted to have another child. Like, we were not, it was not, no secret. But I also didn't want to bring everyone down with all the things that are going on with us. So it was actually a good thing, because that happened while we were away, and I also kind of got better while we were away. And then it was that next cycle that we ended up conceiving Jimmy. So basically with Jimmy, we decided no more IUIs. We had tried that twice, it didn't work, but I did want to go ahead and do a second cycle of the 25 milligrams of Clomid daily for 5 days, starting on cycle day 5. So I did that, and I got a positive ovulation test on day 14, blazing positive, another on day 15, blazing positive, and then a negative on day 16. So I believe we ovulated on day 15, and really felt good about that cycle as far as our chances. And as far as just kind of what we did, I know sometimes if you are feeling like this is TMI, this is time to turn off and just go ahead and forward to the next video, okay? Because what I'm going to share is our timing. When I look back, so we had 13 cycles where we could have gotten pregnant, had everything lined up just right. And we were trying, and we were trying, and we were trying. Okay, but this 13th cycle was when we did timed intercourse just like we had been doing, but we did not miss a day in that 6-day window. So all the way up until ovulation day. Now I do temping, meaning that I just do a basal body temperature thermometer. I use the thermometer, and I take my temperature before I wake up, before I get up, not wake up, but before I get up in the morning. Try to take it at the same time every day, and it's a good indication of whether or not you have ovulated or whether or not it's before you've ovulated, because what will happen is your body will, your temperature will go up once ovulation has taken place. And I believe it's the progesterone in your system that is there that increases your temperature, and it's not a lot. It's just by a few tenths of a degree, but it's enough to be seen on these charts. So it's very clear that I ovulated, very clear when I ovulated, had a really good temperature jump, maintained that temperature over that line for a certain number of days. So by 9 days after ovulation was detected, I took a pregnancy test, and it was a positive, and it was on our daughter's birthday, which was September 21st. So I then went immediately to the doctor's office, and so they could confirm pregnancy. And my HCG level was at a 5. So most of the tests do not detect below like 25. So this was a highly sensitive test that detected it at that point. And then it went over the weekend, and the lines just got darker, and by like Sunday, I was able to get a positive on a digital. Monday, I went back to have my levels tested again, and I think they were at like at 126 or something like that on Monday, which was great. And then we went again another like 3 days later, just to make sure that there was a rise in HCG, and that it seemed as though we were having a viable pregnancy at that point. So after that, We had a ultrasound appointment with our fertility doctor once the heartbeat could be detected. So that was the first time we saw Jimmy's heartbeat, and it was so just overwhelmingly exciting for us. So such an answer to prayer. And after that, we were monitored pretty closely. So we were released from the fertility doctor because once there was a baby and a heartbeat, we were released on to the next. So then we went to our just regular new OB-GYN that I had met with before conceiving. And I think her appointment time was maybe 9 weeks or 8 weeks, somewhere in there. She wanted to see us. So we went to that appointment and again saw Jimmy's heartbeat, and then still didn't know whether Jimmy was a boy or a girl. Then we went to the fertility specialist, and I think we were on like a 1-month schedule with him for a pretty long while, which is maybe, it was actually 3 weeks. So we saw him every 3 weeks, and we saw her every month. And then we went to every 2 weeks for him, and still her every month until it gets a little bit further down along in the pregnancy. So there was a point where when I was going every 2 weeks to see him, that it felt, I was going at least 2-3 times a month. So he was always checking for anemia in the baby and never found any issues whatsoever. So that was watched for really closely. And we made it. So we decided to deliver Jimmy induced labor at 38 weeks. Thought it would be a really quick process since it was my 5th full-term birth. It really wasn't. So we started in the night and then kind of went into the morning. Doctor thought we would be delivering by noon, and it was off into the next evening. So, but we did okay. I have delivered a couple of babies without an epidural, and the others with epidural and Pitocin and the whole thing. And with Pitocin, I'll just say I've tried it and tried it and tried it to not have an epidural with Pitocin, and my body will not cooperate. And yeah, so it's just got to get that baby out safely, and my body will only relax once it has epidural, or go through natural labor and do it that way, which we didn't do. But anyway, we were able to deliver him vaginally and get him safely. We delivered him with all of us in the room, and my mom too, and it was super special. And anyway, that is our fertility journey. That is what we did, how it worked. I know there's a lot of stories all leading up to it, and then when the cycle that we got pregnant, that's the cycle we got pregnant. I think I started to tell you all this, and I don't think I actually ended up saying it, but out of those 12 cycles, that 13th one was the only one where we did not have a day off, from whether it was the IUI or timed intercourse. That was the only month that we didn't take a day or a little break in there. That was the only month that it was straight 6 days in a row. So I'll just say that. I know that that's obviously not necessary, because it just takes one and just timed right. And I believe it's God's timing. So we're just doing our part, and then ultimately God is the one who decides. So, but that's, I think, just an interesting takeaway. When I looked back, I knew we were timing everything great. Everything was perfectly timed, at least I thought. But you know what? At the end of it, it was totally up to God. It always is. And I'm so thankful for his timing. I'm so thankful that he chose Jimmy for us. I obviously regret in my heart that I'm not able to raise Mary Linda here on earth with her siblings, but I'm thankful for her life. I'm thankful for the path that her life put us on, because we really didn't desire to have more children after her. And I just feel so blessed, so incredibly blessed, that I get to be Mary Linda's mom and I get to be Jimmy's mom. So I wish I could have them both here together, but I certainly am thankful for both of their lives. And I wish you all, if you're watching this and you are struggling with fertility and questions and whatever's going on in your life, I just want you to know that I'm here for you. I will pray for you. I will pray for a sweet baby for you. And as we say in the trying to conceive world, lots of baby dust to you. But seriously, if you need anything at all, please comment here and I'm here to support you. I have walked a different road, and I know that as someone who does have living children, I feel incredibly blessed. But I did struggle, and I did lose a child, and so I have a heart for anyone who is struggling with infertility, miscarriage, or loss of their little ones. It just leaves a hole that will never be filled. And I want you to know that you're loved, and I pray for God's perfect timing for you. So thank you, guys. I hope you learned something from this, and maybe something of value that will give you hope. And again, I really appreciate you guys subscribing, commenting, sharing, and just let me know what you think. If you have questions, if you have a private prayer concern, you can post just that you'd like for me to pray for you, and you don't even need to post what it's about, because God knows. All right, take care.